Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 251. Iliya here. You know what we're going to be doing, having a look at the markets, how they developed this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly, what we can expect for the upcoming week and also month, because we had the monthly candle closure. So firstly, also happy new month of August. August is characterized as being like the summer month when the market gets a little bit choppy. So keep that in your mind, but of course, let that not stop you really from looking at the markets and striking at your setups. So as usual, right now, we're going to have a look at the monthly time frame, see what we can extract from the monthly candles, and then of course, make our amazing top-down analysis and draw some forecasts for this week and also for the month. All right, as always, let's get started with the economic calendar. So what we had last week was we had the federal funds rate that were actually kept the same. So the market did not react that much to the funds rate. And then on Friday, we had NFP when the market just tumbled. I didn't really trade this week. I didn't trade on NFP as well because I went on a little bit of a sea vacation, but then an absolutely worst virus got me and I was vomiting for 2 days. So just got back, and that's why I'm releasing the video on Sunday, because I feel a little bit better today. But the NFP really gave us that overall momentum. So right now we had FOMC out of the way, we had the NFP out of the way. So I do believe the rest of the weeks here should be fine. Again, the only thing that worries me is that usually, again, August is classified as being quite a choppy month. So I'm also going to be going on vacations here and there. So probably I'm not going to be trading as much, and then getting back to full focus in September. Okay. But on Monday, it looks tradable, especially US session, because we have services PMI. That is a very volatile news event. Then on Tuesday, we have the cash rate and the rate statement for the Aussie dollar. So that is important if you're trading the Aussie, and then nothing else. So Tuesday, kind of a 50-50 day, especially if you want to be trading the Euro pairs. Wednesday, also no USD news. We have some NZD news and some CAT. Also looks like a pretty dead day. Thursday, we have unemployment claims, which is pretty nice. And then on Friday, just some CAT news. So it looks like the next week is not going to be something huge. And then looking into the week after, this is where we're starting to have a couple of more news releases, like for example, the US CPI, US PPI, US retail sales, unemployment claims here as well, consumer sentiment. So I guess this week here is going to be the week that moves. So next week, I don't expect a lot, but I would expect to maybe the market continue going with that overall momentum that we had from NFP. So of course, I am going to be looking at it. All right, let's get started with the DXY. Now, what we're having right here is a very nice monthly bearish candle showing us that the market potentially doesn't really want to go towards this high. So then, of course, as I see this overall momentum going lower, I can immediately forecast this monthly swing low to be my liquidity point, so to be my drawn liquidity. Then we're dropping onto the weekly time frame, and we can start seeing that right now. The bearish order flow is starting to get respected because we had that weekly bearish imbalance together with this weekly OB, and the market perfectly tapped inside. And right now it's very massively flushing, and there is pretty much nothing to stop it until this low. So I would definitely expect bearishness. Now we're having an expansion candle this week. So next week, will it potentially consolidate to maybe form a candle like that, to then create a weekly bearish imbalance, to then maybe trade that into next week with the news? This is absolutely possible. Okay. So as I had a look at the news right now, I wouldn't really expect a massive move on the DXY, but I'm trying to start removing a lot of my expectations, because when I start to forecast too much, you know, guys, how I always tell you, don't forecast, just flow. And I started forecasting a little bit too much in terms of news, right? So for example, okay, today is not gonna move, or Friday it's massively gonna move. And then that is still having expectations. And for example, I thought that some days are just not gonna move at all, so I don't look for any trades, and then actually the day ends up moving quite nice. All right. So right now we are taking this daily liquidity. So I would really love to see a daily imbalance to potentially continue lower from. So for example, something to get created like this, potentially on Monday to create that imbalance, and then to potentially look to trade from that. To the left, you can see we're also taking this daily swing point as liquidity. So I would definitely love to see a daily pullback. or something on the hourly time frame. Now on the hourly time frame, we do have a massive fall imbalance, but again, I would really love to see something on the daily. So for example, what I would like to see is for Monday's candle to consolidate to create a daily bearish imbalance, then potentially Tuesday to tap into that bearish daily imbalance, and then to potentially start going from there. Okay. But of course, if for example Monday opens, it goes bullish into that volatile zone, and then it starts shifting lower, then I will also be looking for sells. So DXY, after a super massive consolidation here, after being super tricky for quite a while, we finally got the news and we finally got the time at which actually it started moving. So right now, until this potential drawn liquidity here, I will be bearish and I will be trying to short the dollar. So let's see, with that being said, let's see how the other pairs look like. Alright, EURUSD, pretty much the inverse of the DXY. We are also having this high as potential liquidity. Now on the monthly time frame, there is nothing much to discuss. Like, I mean, you can see the euro dollar has actually been chopping for 1 year, even for 2 years right now. So let's see if it's actually going to start rocketing higher. Again, we have the potential election of Trump. That could definitely put some momentum even on the time frames like the monthly. So EURUSD this week, it actually pulled back a lot deeper into this weekly bullish imbalance, and I told you that this is the absolute last resort for the market to potentially go higher. So currently also, that is our weekly zone and this is our monthly zone. We have two very clear levels, I should say, to potentially trade towards. And yeah, you can see it was super sloppy. It was very choppy, like going down, going down. There was a potential trade here from the daily imbalance. On Thursday especially, that is pretty much the trade this is the only trade that I saw that could potentially been taken. But again, I just chose not to trade this week to protect my capital, to wait for the Fed rate to be over, to wait for the NFP to be over, and then to potentially trade with more clarity into the incoming weeks. Now, we're having this very massive daily expansion, okay? And there is nothing to stop price towards that weekly and even the monthly zone. So once again, I would love for the market to form a daily bullish imbalance to potentially make the candle 3 on Monday, and then Tuesday to tap inside, and then to potentially continue going higher. But of course, if there is also something on the hourly time frame to potentially stop price and push it higher, that's definitely also gonna be nice. And we have these two zones here, okay? So yeah, I mean, to the left you can see, so for example, we have this guy that the market tapped into. It's reacting right now, but it's taking out all the orders that were left within this old unretested imbalance. Right now it can pull back into this imbalance, or it could pull back a little bit lower, or maybe it could even pull back to a daily imbalance that could get created on Monday, so then trading on to Tuesday, and then to potentially go higher into that weekly drawn liquidity. Okay, so that is EURUSD. Right, I'm pretty much bullish. The only question is, where are we gonna go long from? Is it going to be these hourly zones, or are we going to be waiting for a daily zone to form and then potentially for the market to pull back, and then of course wait for the entry pattern to give us the long setup on EU? So of course, long bias. Let's see how it goes. Let's have a look at GU. Now, it looks like on the monthly time frame a little bit slower than, for example, the DXY or EU. We are potentially right now sweeping this monthly high here. We didn't really continue expanding higher. Right now, this month started a little bit bearish. It's rejecting right now, so nothing much to extract on the monthly. And then the weekly time frame is very 50-50 on GU, by the way. So it is still having that weekly bullish imbalance. Like, for example, we had the same one on the EU. We are also kind of tapping inside this massive sell to buy here, so tapping inside. But at the same time, what is really bad is that we're having a weekly bearish imbalance. And when you get this situation, it's always 50-50 because you don't know which one is going to get respected. Right now, the market can potentially react, pull back into this one. This one can either flush or it can react and then get broken. So you literally have to wait for the market to show you what it wants to do on GU. Dropping onto the daily time frame. Come on. Damn, with this virus, I can't even speak, running out of breath. All right, so daily time frame, you can see nothing much on the daily. Like, there wasn't a single daily bearish imbalance nor something bullish, so rather choppy. This means that I would even take this one more as a bullish signal, because if the market decides to go higher, there is nothing on the daily to potentially stop it. So if you want to be trading a GU long, I would definitely trade it into that weekly bearish imbalance. And then you can see, for example, on the hourly time frame, we're getting a 4-hourly imbalance out of this weekly imbalance. All right, so that is a very good potential first sign that the market wants to go higher. We literally just took out that 4-hourly zone, reacted. So right now, if we do get something like this, then the next very easy target on GU will be this liquidity, and then eventually the weekly imbalance. Okay, now keep in mind this one, looking at it right now, if it starts also printing and respecting 1-hourly imbalances, which we don't really have. Is this the one? Yeah, that's one imbalance here. If this one starts pushing higher without even pulling back into the hourly time frame, it could mean that it just might want to go higher without giving any sort of pullbacks. Okay, so there are two scenarios on this one: either a pullback into this hourly zone and then potential longs, or immediately starting to push higher, and then of course you can follow the 1-hourly time frame and then of course trade it into that first drawn liquidity, which is that hourly zone. This is also kind of a daily high here, and then the next target will be that weekly bearish imbalance. All right, Aussie dollar. And now on Aussie dollar, we flushed like crazy. This is mainly because of some commodity prices as well. We are having a massive monthly bearish candle, and the potential to already create even a monthly bearish imbalance. Let's see if that is going to form. Now, if this one is going to go lower, we can of course target this low, but of course the more recent low will of course be the previous monthly low. Now on the weekly, we are having this beautiful weekly bearish imbalance. This is definitely something that I would like to see get tapped, because it perfectly also aligns with this weekly OB here, this massive sell to buy. Okay, and you can see to the left, there is nothing much to stop price. There is nothing much to push it higher. But this will definitely be something that I will be watching for. If we tap inside this weekly bearish imbalance, I would definitely be interested to go short. And then you can see why I think it's a high probability that the market taps this weekly zone is that there is nothing on the daily to push it lower. And you can see AU this week, since Friday, it was quite choppy, right? It was quite choppy, while for example, also EU was quite choppy all the way until Friday, but the JPYs just melted like butter, right? And then of course we are dropping onto the 40 time frame on AU, and this is, guys, once again, price action that you just don't want to touch. Okay, like going bullish, then going bearish, then going bullish. It's just in a quite a big consolidation, and we even saw it from the daily. It is not a clear trend. Okay, so on the Aussie dollar, I would keep it quite simple. I am just going to be looking for that weekly bearish imbalance to tap, and what I just simply do is I set an alert at this weekly bearish imbalance, and if it taps, then I'm gonna get focused and start looking for shorts. It's that simple. And of course, if the market starts to print bearishness, I will just adapt and then keep looking to short the market until my drawn liquidity. NZD dollar is next on the list. We're having also a very nice monthly bearish candle, very nicely driving us towards this low here. Quite surprising that we just stopped, literally stopped super close to it, but we didn't take it. And then we started rejecting. So is there something on the weekly time frame to push price lower? Well, yes, there is. There is this weekly bearish imbalance, and there is also one just above it. Now, I would prefer the first one, although we can actually maybe throw a little bit of a wick like that and pretty much fill both of them. But also, so in the same, in this case, also I'm just setting an alert at that weekly imbalance, but I'm not trading NU, so I'm not gonna do it. But this is potentially where I'm gonna be looking to trade from. And you can see, even in this case, it's a little bit cleaner than AU, because in this case, the daily time frame is driving us into that weekly. So it actually tapped, it made the daily bullish, and right now it's pushing towards that weekly, okay? And right now, again, like the latest price action here was not the greatest. So I would once again love to see the market tap into that hourly imbalance, and then, into that weekly imbalance, and then start printing 4-hourly breaks of structures with imbalances going lower to pretty much confirm my entry, okay? That is NZUSD, also bearish bias for now. I don't like that it actually built this bullish imbalance, but I do believe this was built just to pretty much guide the market into the hard time frame imbalances that are the weekly. And then right now, as we tap the weekly, hopefully we're gonna start seeing rejections to potentially go lower. Because yeah, I mean, the NZD and the Aussies were in a massive drop, so they are due for some sort of a pullback. So right now we are getting it. Not really on AU, but on NU we're getting a little bit. So hopefully that could give us even some nice short setups. So let's see. All right, let's have a look at Mr. Goat. So we're having a very nice monthly bullish candle taking out the all-time highs and this monthly swing high. So the monthly and also the all-time high are taken, and right now the market is starting with a little bit of a consolidation. Then dropping onto the weekly time frame. So we had on the weekly this bullish imbalance. The market tapped it here. And it looked like quite bearish. I thought it might actually start wanting to go lower, but no, this week we responded very nicely and we're once again headed for a new all-time high. So dropping then onto the daily time frame, we're already having that threshold from which you can potentially continue going higher from, okay? And that is a very nice daily imbalance together with this very nicely daily sell to buy. Well, unfortunately, this here is our OB in this case, because that is the last sell candle before the big push. And then Friday was rather tricky, I would say, with NFP. So that means that the hourly time frame is going to get a little bit nastier in the form of having this full hourly supply and demand sandwich. All right. So what we have to be doing right here is we have to be waiting for this full hourly bearish imbalance to fail, if of course your bias is longs. Okay. So what you have to be looking for is either on the 4-hourly time frame or on the 1-hourly time frame for the market to pretty much tap inside this imbalance, to maybe give us some reaction, and then to pretty much start building opposing order flow and breaks of structure against this 4-hourly bearish imbalance. Because right now, this is a little bit of a 50-50 situation, at which, sure, daily is a hard time frame, but when you still have the 4-hourly time frame opposing it, this 4-hourly time frame can oftentimes push price lower and even reverse it, okay? So this is a very massive tip that I have for you. When you're having something like this, always wait for this zone to fail. Because if you wait for those opposing zones to fail, you're going to get a lot higher probability trade to then potentially hit your take profit. But if you're trading, for example, right now, if you try to go long, right now, for example, and then you place your stop loss here, there's a very high chance that the market is going to react in this hourly zone, stop you out, and then potentially decide to go. Okay? So wait for these zones to get taken, wait for them to get actually overtaken, and then look to strike. So I'm overall bullish on gold right now, based also on the DXY. If it continues to rally lower, I would definitely love to keep longing gold as well. Of course, as long as Aussie dollar also is falling, gold is also looking quite good. So yeah, bullish bias on gold, just waiting for that hourly supply zone to fail, and then from there, gonna be targeting new all-time highs. Let's see. All right, the JPYs are once again on a roll. Look at that massive monthly candle and look at the brand new month already, just 4 days in. It's continuing to push down like crazy. In fact, you can see like, yeah, massive weekly candle, massive monthly candles taking all the liquidity. So right now, the last liquidity we took is this guy. And then what is pretty much next? Well, all the way this low down here, or what I just saw here is this unretested weekly imbalance. But again, so are we going to continue flushing lower like that? Are we going to be making a new weekly bearish imbalance to potentially react from? Well, those are things that we can't really read right now. But yeah, you can see this one here. It had this daily bearish imbalance. And it had this one on Friday. Was then Monday consolidated. Tuesday took the liquidity, printed this bearish candle. And then since then, it's been dropping like crazy. So right now, because we're taking like a massive daily liquidity and a massive weekly liquidity, I would really love to have a daily pullback. I would really love, for example, for Monday on USD/JPY to consolidate and then to potentially make a bearish imbalance like that, and then to potentially trade from that, okay? But and then, of course, oftentimes this is not going to happen if you have something on the 4-hourly time frame to potentially push price lower. And the only thing we have is this guy. But if the market pulls back all the way up here, it's going to invalidate a new daily bearish imbalance. So it really depends on how USD/JPY in this case is going to open. And then, of course, how we are going to adapt to it. Right now, of course, it's just absolutely short bias. The main question is, right, where are we going to go short from? Personally, wanting to see a daily bearish imbalance to form on Monday and then get retested on Tuesday. But if the market starts with a lot of bullishness, all right, and actually it pulls back towards this line, which is our daily invalidation line, which is going to invalidate a new daily bearish imbalance, then you can look for the higher point, which is going to be this daily imbalance, okay? So overall bearish, but again, let's see, he's going to respond from fall, he's going to make a daily and then go lower, or he's going to make a bullish week to potentially pull back all the way up here. I personally think with this massive momentum, it should be going lower, but the JPYs are always tricky. They always have like this Bank of Japan intervention. They always have these kind of risk on and risk off perspectives and stuff. Sometimes they're chopping like crazy. Sometimes they're dumping and pumping like crazy. I don't like them. They're on a very on periods, you know. Sometimes they go amazing. Sometimes they are very choppy. So it's like with any pair, but personally, I don't trade them a lot because they also sometimes move during Asia, and this doesn't suit me. But for those of you who are trading the JPYs, I really hope you're capitalizing. Let's have a look at Euro Yen. So once again, a massive monthly bearish candle. And if you look to the left, there is absolutely nothing to stop price from pushing all the way down here. Now, this is a very big call to make, so I'm not gonna make it right now. But of course, I'm gonna start dropping to the lower time frames to see what we have. Now, what we're taking very recently is this weekly swing point, and then of course the next, this should turn green, and then the next one is this guy. So an extremely massive weekly bearish candle, right? And also looking at EU, that's going bullish, this one going bearish, but this one right now, it's very heavily impacted by the strength of the JPY. The JPY is getting just super strong. Why? Well, because they hiked their rate, and right now a lot of investors are pretty much, because like, you know, the JPY has been like a safe haven, all right? But right now, as they're changing their rate, it seems like it's more appropriate, more likable for investors. So they are putting their money into Japanese yen, and you can see right now like everything against the yen is falling like crazy. Daily time frame, well, like look at that, like Tuesday, and then since then it's been dropping like crazy. Daily imbalance here to potentially for the market to pull back to. It can also form a daily imbalance also on Monday if it doesn't pull back towards this daily invalidation line. And does it have something on the volatility time frame? Not really. Okay, so in this case, I would wait for this one to pull us back onto the daily time frame, either form a new daily bearish imbalance on Monday and then pull back on Tuesday like that, or pull us back into this daily bearish imbalance and continue lower, or start printing 4-hourly bearish imbalances to potentially guide us into the next liquidity point. Okay, so that's pretty much Euro Yen. Let's see how it goes. GJ should even be going weaker than EJ because, for example, Euro USD is a little bit stronger than the pound. Okay, so for example, Euro JPY will flush a little bit less than GJ will flush, and you can see the monthly candle here is already looking bigger, pointing us once again all the way down towards this low. Dropping onto the daily time frame, just continues to expand like crazy, taking of course some liquidity points. The last liquidity point that we took is this weekly liquidity. The next one that we could potentially take is this one, but as we're taking weekly liquidity right now, I would love to see either a weekly pullback or at least a daily pullback. And then of course we are dropping onto the daily time frame, and we're having these massive runaway gaps, breakaway gaps, whatever you like to call them, right? This is an imbalance that the market is just running away from, all right? And you can see them, they do happen a lot of times. For example, there is one here. They are usually signified by a very strong third candle. So for example, here, candle 1, candle 2, candle 3. When candle 2 formed, candle 3 formed. In this case, it was super big. And that means it's going to be very hard for the market to pull back into that daily imbalance. And here is exactly the same, right? There is an imbalance. The candle 3 is super strong. So in this case, we can respect something on the volatility time frame. But in this case, we don't have anything on the volatility time frame, which means that the market could then pull back into that daily zone. Also, it's taking liquidity, so that makes it more viable for the market to pull us back there. Or similar to the rest of the JPYs, it can form a new daily bearish imbalance, right, on Monday and then tap it on Tuesday, okay? So either a new daily bearish or the old daily bearish or a new hourly bearish order flow to potentially guide us lower. Those are all the potential scenarios that I see. Right now, it's just in your hands to just wait for the market, flow with it, let it show you what it wants to do, and only strike when you're getting that clear setup presented. Here we are at the indices, starting with SPX. We are right now pulling back into a monthly imbalance, which means it's a very good time to start buying some stocks. Not financial advice, by the way. So monthly imbalance getting tapped right now, and on the weekly time frame, we're not getting anything bearish, but we're getting a very strong recent bearish momentum. So my question is, are we going to head all the way lower towards this low here, or are we going to start flipping bullish, respecting that monthly bullish imbalance? So in my case, I'm gonna start stacking stocks as it is right now, because oftentimes you can see, for example, here we had these 3 bearish weeks around 6.5% pullback, and right now we have exactly this 6.5% pullback. So that means that right now the market can just tap into something. So if we have a look at here, did we have something? Yep, we just had this monthly imbalance. The market tapped it and rushed. Right now we have the same. Is it gonna drop lower? I don't know, but I also don't care, because I'm talking a little bit more about investments right now. But dropping onto the daily time frame, we had this daily bearish imbalance that the market kind of consolidated around. We tapped it, it looked bearish, but then on Wednesday we pushed up, but then on Thursday we flipped lower, and then on NFP we started rushing lower once again, finally tapping us into that monthly zone here. So again, the question right now is, okay, what is going to happen? Are we going to continue making daily bearish imbalances? So in this case, like for example, it could take us, again guys, this is a monthly time frame. It is going to take the market some time in order to flip bullish. So right now it might form a daily bearish imbalance, it might tap it, it might react, and then it might take some more time to shift, okay? But so far, the most recent order flow is, you can see, bearish. It was quite tricky to be trading the indices because we consolidated. It looked like it wanted to go down, then it looked like it wanted to go up, and then we just massively crushed like crazy. So the most recent, for example, imbalance that we have on the 40 time frame is this guy. But as we're also tapping into a monthly zone right now, in terms of trading, I would love to give it some time, really. I would love to let Monday play out to show me whether it wants to make a daily imbalance or not. Then I would wait for Tuesday to play out to show me if it wants to respect that daily imbalance and then continue going lower, or then wait for Tuesday to react, and then Wednesday, Thursday to start breaking to then potentially show me if it wants to go higher from that monthly zone here. Because we're just tapping into that monthly zone and it's too early to say, is it gonna hold or is it not gonna hold? So again, this is pretty much the hypothesis I have, and I have to pretty much wait to see whether it's gonna be validated or not. Is this monthly imbalance going to hold or not? That's the question, and right now we can know this by monitoring the, not really the weekly. What I really like about the weekly on the SPX is that it does not have anything bearish. Meanwhile on NASDAQ, it has some bearish imbalance here, which suggests a little bit more of a weakness. This one doesn't have anything on the weekly to stop it. So the only thing that I want to see right now start shifting bullish is the daily. Okay. But if the daily continues to go bearish, I will be happy, right? I will be happy. I'm going to buy more stocks and then eventually look for it to start shifting bullish. Okay. So that is SPX. I don't really have any immediate setups. I'm looking at it more on the high time frames right now because there is nothing else to do. I wouldn't really tell you, right, go short from here because we are literally tapping into a monthly zone, and you don't want to be going short on a quality time frame from a monthly bullish zone. Okay, so that's SPX. I would say give it some time, give it 2 to 3 days this week, and then evaluate what is happening. NASDAQ is next on the list. So again, here you can see we have a slight little bit of a detail on the SPX. We have a monthly bullish imbalance here. We don't really have it. You can see we don't have it, and here we also don't have one. I think, yeah, on this broker, it doesn't really have an imbalance. So this one doesn't even have something on the monthly time frame to potentially stop it and push it higher, which means that it can start seeking this low. Now, what is this low? It's a potential quarterly low here, and also here on the quarter, do we have an imbalance? Not really, all right? So is it going to start correcting right now, and correcting in the big sort of way, right? We don't know. Like this here was a rather big correction, around 37%, right? So right now we are just like around 12%. So I don't think it's gonna flush that much lower, okay? But I would say this low is quite viable if, of course, then the SPX and NASDAQ don't start working in tandem like they usually do. And for example, SPX right now starts shifting from this monthly bullish, and also NASDAQ could potentially also start shifting. A very recent target you can have on NASDAQ is this daily low. All right, sorry, this is a weekly low. And then on the weekly time frame, I mean, this imbalance is quite far away. It's not really something to be worried about. Until the market comes in here, we're not going to worry about this. And then dropping onto the daily time frame, similar price action to the SPX. We had this daily bearish imbalance. The market didn't really tap it here, and then it tapped it here on Wednesday, and then Thursday flipped, and then Friday takes out this daily low, Okay, daily low taken, pointing us towards that weekly. So again, on this one, I would still say the same. Wait for it, like for Monday to play out, to see if we're gonna get the bearish imbalance, to see if it's actually gonna go bearish. On Nasdaq though, I am a little bit more bearish simply because this one does not have a monthly imbalance. SPX is tapping into a monthly zone. This one does not have a monthly zone. So right now in that case, even if you want to trade from a 4-hourly time frame, it's not gonna be that bad. Okay. Now in terms of the 4-hourly time frame, there is a super tiny 4-hourly imbalance here. There is another 4-hourly imbalance here. I would just prefer to have something on the daily. I always prefer having a hard time frame imbalance if I'm trading in terms of the hard time frame. So let's see how Monday is gonna close. Hopefully to make a daily bearish imbalance here. And then if that happens, then on the incoming days, I would look for it to pull back and then attack this weekly. Okay. And then it's all about giving it a little bit of time. Is it going to start flipping bullish or is it going to continue going bearish so we can continue shorting Nasdaq and also buying some tech stocks? Let me know in the comments, by the way, guys, what do you think? Are we going to continue going lower? Where are your projections to potentially going lower? And what is your plan for the indices? US 30 also not forming a monthly bullish imbalance. Now this one went super strong in the month of July, and then August just opened and pink, it filled, it invalidated a potential monthly bullish imbalance, and it already looks quite bearish. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, you can see here it tapped this weekly bullish imbalance and it actually did its job. It tapped in, it tries to push higher, it fails, and right now it's starting to drop lower. And you can see as it's dropping lower right now, there is nothing else to pretty much stop it all the way down towards this low. Now, are we going to be taking all the way down that low? That's a very, very, very big call to make. Okay. But if the daily time frame right now and the weekly time frame continue pushing lower and start taking these liquidity points one by one, that could definitely get viable. The very recent liquidity point that I think would get taken is this daily low. At the same time, in this case, we're also getting this daily bearish imbalance. That is one of those runaway gaps that I told you about. So similar to the rest of the indices, I would like to wait for Monday to pass on US 30 to form another daily bearish imbalance here, and then trade it bearish from here, targeting this low. That will be my ideal setup. Is there something on the 4-hourly time frame? Yeah, there is something on the 4-hourly time frame. You can also try to trade the 4-hourly time frame, but I wouldn't really trade indices on Monday, although on Monday we have US PMI, so you can definitely try your luck if you are feeling risky. But personally, I just don't trade indices on Monday because again, the stock market hasn't yet opened in London. Then it opens for the first time in New York on Monday, and it's usually a little bit tricky. So potentially pull back into 4-hourly zone, maybe give a reaction, and then form the daily bearish imbalance to potentially trade from there. Okay, but if the 4-hourly imbalance is also hold, you can also go short from here, targeting the low-hanging fruit in the form of this daily low. All right, Fanatics, back full circle to have a look at the market once again. Sorry if I rushed it a little bit. I'm finding it super hard to breathe. As I told you, I'm having a virus currently and I was vomiting for a couple of days, so it was quite hard. But currently we are overall bearish on the dollar, which means, of course, bullish on everything else. My main point for the incoming week is to wait for Monday to play out, to potentially give us a little bit more of a context, whether he wants to go lower, whether he wants to go higher. Currently on the DXY, we're having a 4-hourly bearish imbalance to work with, EU as well. And we're having very clear draws on liquidity in the form of, for example, in this case, this weekly bullish imbalance. So EUR/USD is my favorite setup going forward this week because I do think it could be a very nice long into that weekly liquidity. GBP/USD, it is a little bit 50-50 because it has a weekly bullish imbalance and a weekly bearish imbalance. However, on the daily time frame, there is nothing bearish to potentially stop price and push it lower. That means the 4-hourly time frame can potentially guide us into this weekly zone. So if you want to take long on GU, that will be your target. The Aussie and the NZD are extremely bearish, and in these kind of pairs, I would be looking for a weekly imbalance. You can see, for example, Aussie dollar has this weekly imbalance. Is it going to pull back and then go lower, or is it going to just continue going lower, maybe printing some 4-hourly bearish breaks of structures in order flow? NZUSD is very close to the weekly imbalance, so that can definitely be viable. Gold is tapping into a weekly zone here, and it's also building right now daily bullish imbalance. It already tapped it, and right now what I just want to see is for this 4-hourly imbalance to fail in order to show me that the market can potentially run higher. And as it takes all-time high, once again, it's going to be time to a little bit step away, because when all-time highs are taken, then the market usually, for example, here you can see all-time high, it got taken, and then the market made a big pullback. It usually goes like this. On the JPYs, the main kind of point is to wait for Monday to form to see if we're going to get a daily bearish imbalance. So that is for USD JPY, EJ and GJ. I think the weakest pair of them is going to be UJ and GJ because between, for example, Euro USD and GBP USD, GBP USD is weaker, which means that GBP JPY will drop even further, while Euro JPY could consolidate a little bit more, while USD JPY is also looking quite good. And when it comes to the indices, I am personally going to start buying some stocks right now because they are in a very, very, very nice decline. But in terms of trading it, I would definitely give it even a week and at least 2 days to see whether we're going to have a daily bearish imbalance forming on SPX, because here on SPX, we're tapping into a monthly bullish imbalance. That is a very important point, okay? While on NASDAQ, we don't have this. On NASDAQ, we just have this weekly liquidity that we can take, which can potentially start fueling a daily or a hourly pullback, okay? But also waiting to see how Monday is gonna form, if we're gonna have a daily bearish imbalance on all the indices, and then trade them short into their low-hanging fruit, which is in this case on US 30 this daily low, on NASDAQ is this weekly low, and on SPX is pretty much, it's taken everything. So on SPX, I would say SPX has already reached everything, and this one can already start turning bullish, which is why I'm definitely leaving on Monday. When the stock market opens, I'm gonna buy some stocks because it can just rush without me, okay? So that is for this weekly outlook. Let me know how you guys performed this week. Let me know if you traded throughout this crazy week. Did you capitalize on NFP maybe, or did you take a break from trading this week because it was quite low probability to trade? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what is your favorite pair for the incoming week, and I'm gonna talk to you on the next one.